Are. Chris Brown, Northern District Public Service Commissioner. Good morning to you, sir. How are you?
Good morning, Paul. How you doing?
Man, it's just some bizarre stuff out there.
It's a crazy world.
Great time to be in talk radio, isn't it?
Yeah.
Let me start off by saying and I know this is not something I was going to ask you, but I was just thinking, is the Public Service Commission, is there anything that in the area of imagination could involve themselves in this grand casino thing and have to put a stop to that one way or the other? I don't think there's anything less they're violating something from the Public Service Commissioner, but we're talking about moving the miners, the Nicaraguan miners, into the casino and hotel in Tunica.
Yeah, that's not. It's a little bit out of our purview, but it is. It is a strange thing that our government would pay for other people to come in our country when we can't even take care of our own somewhat. You know, there's a lot of elderly that are suffering, and veterans and homeless and everything else. It seems like a very odd proposition as an American.
Cindy Hyde-Smith, Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith gave us that report yesterday. And I don't think it's anything new this morning that I found, and it's going to be a while the paperwork makes its way through that. But it is on track, and I'm not sure if there are people who could stop it, but there's going to be an effort to do that. So we'll see what happens and keep you abreast of that. A little bit of an update and follow-up on that past legislation of 2024, the session that just concluded, that will pressure some municipalities out there that own utilities to provide adequate service to their customers as we revisit this, certainly because of the Holly Springs and certainly because of you making people across the state aware of this. What's the follow-up? It has been signed. Anything done, or your insight and analysis on that?
Yes, sir. So there's the legislation laid out a process for us to take to kind of investigate deeper into the Holly Springs issue. Mm-hmm. So where we're at now is we've issued an RFP to try to get a little more in-depth study of the system, and then we'll have a hearing, just like a normal court-style hearing, where we'll go up into the district and hear from the locals, hear from Holly Springs Utility District, and just have a lot of input to let everybody get their 2 cents in, if you will. And then we'll make a determination as the three of us whether they're providing reasonable, adequate service. And at that point, if it's deemed not reasonable and adequate, then it would go to a local court, and they would settle what to do with the utility district at that point.
Commissioner, are they still having outages now like that, or is that curtailed a little bit?
They are still having outages. I will say that the action that we're taking has gotten them kind of moving a little faster. So I know they've hired a right-of-way crew to kind of go out and start cleaning some of the lines, and I've heard that they hired an extra lineman and a manager actually. So they are working to try to make the best they can out of that service at this point.
This legislation did nothing to give some representation to the people in the county that are members of that utility, but they have no vote. Did it?
That's correct. At this point, the people in the county outside of the city have no input at all on how their utility district is run, so they have no recourse. And the way the law was set up is the Public Service Commission didn't have any power over them either, so there was nothing that kind of fell in that gray area. So what this legislation did is they actually gave them a voice through the Public Service Commission. So anybody in that district that has an outage that goes without power, please report it to the Public Service Commission. We're keeping track of it. We're keeping records of it. That'll give us more data as we move forward.
Is there any similar condition in Commissioner Decanter Stamp's district, or also Cars?
I don't know of anything like that, and anywhere in the state. is one out of 153 in TVA's district, in their whole service area. They service 153 utility districts, and Holly Springs is the only one with this kind of catastrophic conditions.
Well, regardless of what these weather people say, it looks like it's going to be another hot summer. Already is for this time of the year, and stifling. So hopefully they will get that taken care of one way or the other. Let me ask you this one.
Go ahead.
Push
to make sure. I mean, we're on it, and our commitment is to the people and the ratepayers in the Northern District, and we're doing everything we can, and we're going to push hard to try to solve that issue up there.
Got it. One of the other big stories is the update from of the Sierra Club is suing the Public Service Commission over their suspension of the solar subsidy program. And I think you're on record as saying one of the reasons for that is it's going to be supplemented by something else. You're on record as saying that there's no need for the program when MDA, the Mississippi Development Authority, begins their Solar for All program. Explain that a little bit and what is happening and the timeline of this.
Sure. The solar subsidy is basically what it does. It puts a subsidy on all the ratepayers to pay for the solar of, and Commissioner Stamps put it right. Is that it's poor people paying for rich people's solar. I think he said that in one of the articles that they interviewed him on. That basically you put the cost of your rooftop solar on your neighbor or somebody else in the district or in the state as a ratepayer. So we looked at it and we're like, well, we're not against solar. We're all the above. So, if we have to have energy to provide for everything we need, our day-to-day lives, then let's look at everything. And so solar is one of those components. So the solar part, we just didn't think it was right to force your neighbor to subsidize your solar.
Yeah.
And we have solar projects all over the state that we're approving all the time, but they're private solar generation. So a private company comes in, they contract with a local landowner, and they install solar panels on that land, and then they sell it. Everybody's kind of for it in that area. This was different, to where it was they were forcing you to pay for somebody else's infrastructure and then somebody else's solar, so it raised your per kilowatt hour energy costs, and we just didn't think that was.
So it was tagged on. Do you know how much we're talking about?
What was the question? I'm sorry.
How much are we talking about? In other words, it was just added on to your bill.
Yes. Well, the way the subsidy was, that was the weird part about it. The previous commission set the subsidy up, and it had been in place for 2 years, and nobody had taken advantage of it.
Jeez.
So we just reevaluated what was going on and said, well, it's not a good plan to put one person's solar on somebody else's bill.
No. Go ahead.
Which was common sense to us, right?
Yes. Chris Brown, Northern District Public Service Commission. Here's what aggravates me, because we hear this all the time from the Biden administration, whether it's your gas water heater, whatever. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. It's low-income families will be given up to a $5,000 credit to install solar panels and battery storage. So, in other words, you can get a subsidy of up to $5,000. But what is it going to cost you to do this? To install solar panels, that $5,000 is not going to pay for the whole job. I think it's probably only about a quarter of the job or less.
Or less, especially if it's going to operate. There was a report over in Georgia where they had a similar program. So they had these fly-by-night companies that would come in and promise the world to these families. They would put solar on their roof, and it never would even work. And they were out whatever investment that they put in. So there was no really regulatory oversight of this program either. So could quite easily have been just taking advantage of low-income people.
Yes, that is a good question. So let's just say for a 2-bedroom home, even a 3-bedroom home, if it's a low-income family, How much would it cost to equip them with solar energy to run that house, even though they're going to get $5,000 off? And it's probably going to be you got to come up with another $15,000 to $20,000 to get that $5,000. And I don't know many low-income homes that could say, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to spend $15,000 to save some money on electricity, and I have that kind of money to put in that. That's just ludicrous to say that.
Well,
so go ahead.
Well, most of these, even with the subsidy, Paul, are 10, 15-year payouts. It takes you 10 or 15 years on your savings to get your money, your investment.
Sounds like a financial plan put together from Kamala Harris. We'll talk more coming up in just a moment. Chris Brown, Northern Public Service Commissioner, is on with us. Chris, here it is. For the average home installing a 6 to 8 kilowatt system, solar panels will cost between $15,000 and $22,500. That's before applying for the incentives. If you use the 30% federal solar tax credit, you can expect to pay between $10,500 and $15,750. Not a lot of low-income families can make that decision when at the end of the month, the end of the money is gone, is long gone. That's just crazy.
It is. I actually ran the numbers myself. I actually had a company to come to my house and size a system to get me completely off grid. And what they came up with was $117,000.
Jeez.
To kind of to get my house completely solar and off the grid. Even after all the subsidy was over, $152,000, which was about a 20-year payout. You divide that $152,000 divided by $300 a month electricity, and that's kind of how many months it's going to take. It's not viable yet, in that it's not cheaper than what you have, and so that's why our position is it's all the above approach. If solar and wind and other types of energy can help stabilize the grid, make it more reliable and lower cost or keep them the same, then we're going to be an advocate for it. But I'm just not an advocate for driving our energy cost up so high that the average family can't afford to live. And and that's kind of where this subsidy came in. And so we committed to protecting the ratepayer. And there's a lot of people that are passionate about renewable green energy. Well, if we're truly passionate about renewable green energy, we're going to adopt and embrace nuclear, and the SMRs are coming. Solar and wind's kind of a bridge to get us there, to keep the feds off our back and make sure we're in compliance as a state. But the real future is going to be, which is zero carbon. There's going to be small modular nuclear reactors.
Isn't it also to that when you start talking about technology? We have technology that's changing the life of these solar panels. They're getting cheaper. I know Elon Musk is doing a lot of stuff. As a matter of fact, he's even come up with some things in tiles for sidewalks, some of the outside parts on your home where you're building a new home, the walls themselves. So, I mean, that technology is getting better and better, and it probably would be to the point just wait on it for a little while, and you'll come back even better than the incentives that are being offered here.
Well,
and do it on your own without everybody else having to pay for it.
That's the key. That's the issue. Whatever you do on your own property and what you want to, that's your business. And you're right.
Yeah.
The costs are coming down. Now, the Biden administration just put an extra tariff on Chinese goods, which most solar panels come from China. So that's going to raise the cost of those Chinese solar panels even a little higher if that tariff stays in place.
What is the phone ringing? I mean, is the phone ringing at the PSC, and you guys are looking at this more solar farms across the state?
Yes, like I was alluding to earlier, when the Sierra Club, filed their lawsuit against us, I was literally on the way to Tunica, Mississippi, where there's a 1,300-acre solar farm. Well, in that situation, the landowner had a contract with the solar energy company. The county wanted it. They put out a letter to all the landowners' neighbors. Nobody was in opposition to it. So we approved that because that's a private property issue. That landowner contracted with that power company to install that solar generation plant. So if it doesn't impact the ratepayer, then again, it's an all the above approach. So that's where the Sierra Club just lied in their press release or didn't tell the truth in the fact that they said it was a war on solar. We don't have a war on solar. We're all the above approach. I'm just not going to make your neighbor pay for your solar.
Well, the guy who's making, a couple $300,000 and wants to outfit his home that cost, $100,000, $200,000, is going to be able to afford that a heck of a lot more than a low-income family's got to be able to afford $15,000 to $20,000. So you're absolutely right on with that decision from the PSC, and thank you for sticking by your guns.
And a lot of that is going to be, a lot of the equipment, and you alluded to it. This technology is moving really fast. So most of the solar panels have 20 to 25-year warranty. Inverters 10-year. Batteries are, even as expensive as they are, they have a 10-year.
Yeah. But they not only that, Chris, we got to go because he's going to take us out of here. But as far as the insurance on those panels and everything else for hail, I mean, that's welcome to the South, where you're going to get some damage on that.